I've been so happy with the results I've gotten for my skin with the Maysama skincare products, which include their award-winning green rooibos pressed serum, other topical products, and their red light LED products, which is why I'm so excited to interview the founder of the Maysama skincare line, Bev May Sanderson. I'm GloryB, and this is GloryB-TV, a lifestyle channel for mature women who want to look fabulous, feel amazing, and age gracefully. Well, I'm about to turn 65 years old, and so I'm all about doing things for my skin that slow down the aging process and that even reverse the signs of aging, and Maysama's products definitely do that. Before I forget to tell you, Maysama's Black Friday sale starts on November 1st, 2024 and goes through December 3rd, 2024, which is a generous time frame. And speaking of generous, for this Black Friday event, everything on the Maysama website will be 20% off. And on top of that, I have another 10% discount for you to use at checkout with my discount code. Now, if you're seeing this video and it's after December 3rd, 2024, you can still use my 10% discount code. And throughout the year, Maysama runs other sales. So make sure to check that first to see if they have a sale going on. Now, you can find that out by clicking the links in the description box below. So to get to the product links and my discount code, go below the video to open the description box by tapping the word more 2 times. Or if it's easier to find the links in the comments, go below the video to the first comment that I've written, and all the links and discount code will be there too. On a phone, tap the word comments and then tap the words read more to open my first pinned comment. Now we're off to the interview. All right, everyone, I have Bev May Sanderson with me, the owner of Maysama. We've been working together for a while. Welcome, Bev, to GloryB-TV.
Thank you so much for having me, Glory. It's lovely to be here.
Well, I find your story so interesting because you had a whole career in the past and you have a degree in, tell me what your degree is in once
It's
again.
in microbiology and virology.
Yeah. And then you were in sales, I believe, for a number
Sales
of
and
years.
marketing, yes.
So, you know, you're not 25 years old and deciding to start a skincare brand. It was a little bit later in your life, but tell us what motivated you to start Maysama.
Well, I think the short answer to that is my skin motivated me to do it, because when I hit 50, when I hit menopause, I had terrible problems with my skin. I've always had rosacea, probably since I was in my mid-20s. But it was when I hit menopause that it got particularly bad, and I had lots of flare-ups and I didn't know what to do. So I went to the dermatologist. The dermatologist put me on antibiotics, but I knew that wasn't going to be a long-term fix. So because my background is science, I went away and started to research skin and skincare and formulating. And it was a whole journey for me. I was watching a lot of YouTube channels, and I remember watching one US YouTuber who happened to talk about rooibos in skincare and say it was one of her favorite ingredients. And it just got my interest because I thought, oh, that's something that I drink. You know, I drink green rooibos and I love it, but I hadn't really considered it might be a cosmetic ingredient. And I noticed that she was talking about it, but she was just talking about rooibos, not green rooibos. And I think most of us that drink the tea may recognize that green rooibos has a higher antioxidant potential. And I thought, why is nobody using that in skincare? That would make an interesting skincare line. And because my background is in science, I just thought, well, if I am going to do this, it needs to be backed by science. So at that point, I reached out to the South African Rooibos Council. They put me in touch with the Nelson Mandela Institute, and we started a study on rooibos, on green rooibos.
Now, is rooibos tea mostly grown in South Africa?
It's a little bit like champagne. You can only call it rooibos if it comes from a certain region in South Africa. Otherwise, it's not rooibos. So yes, absolutely.
Okay, good to know.
And the green rooibos comes from the same plant. It's just that when they normally make the tea, they wet the leaves, they beat them, and they leave them to, they say ferment, but it's really just oxidation. So they leave them to oxidize in the sun. And that changes the whole composition in terms of the antioxidant potential. And it gives the flavor to the tea, but it actually destroys a lot of the antioxidant potential. So the green rooibos comes from the fresh leaves. And I think that's why some people confuse it with green tea, because they see green rooibos tea and think that it comes from the same plant as green tea, but it's a separate plant.
Right, right. Now, I'm a tea drinker, and I first became familiar with rooibos tea years ago. I was buying tea, like bulk tea, online. And then someone opened a tea store in my town, and I heard them pronounce it as rooibos. And I heard you pronounce it in another video. You said it's like Roy is your boss. I thought,
Exactly.
yeah, because before I heard it pronounced, I thought it was pronounced rooibos. But I think in the States, we do a lot of red rooibos tea. That's a lot of what's sold. So I'm going to have to look for more green. Now, my source, she ended up deciding to retire and close her business, so I had to find somebody else. But I did find another tea company, and I want to talk about it in a future video, but I'll have to look for the green even for drinking.
Sure, definitely.
So your first flagship product was this? Am I correct about that? It was the green rooibos press serum.
Yes, we launched with a single product, which was our serum, our press serum. That was our first product.
And you started winning awards for this. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what were the rewards about?
Yeah, well, we entered 2 beauty awards, and we were lucky enough to get placements in both. So I think that just put, a little bit of credibility behind the product that we produced. And from there, it very quickly got picked up by YouTubers, not just as an antioxidant serum, which is really what I formulated it as, because whilst we talk about green rooibos tea, what I should point out is that our green rooibos is a little bit different. It's actually an approved pharmaceutical ingredient. So it goes through this patented extraction, which enhances the concentration of the main antioxidants in it and makes it very potent. So it's actually 70 times more potent than standard tea.
Oh.
So for that reason and other reasons, it got picked up by some YouTubers who made the association between green tea and using that with LED therapy, which there was some evidence around the pairing. And then it started to roll on YouTube with lots of other influencers talking about pairing green rooibos with LED. So I became very interested in red light therapy at that point, thinking, well, why do these two work together? What's the science behind it? And at that point, then put some data behind it. We actually tested the serum with a red and near infrared light panel. And when we got the results, I literally fell off my chair. Like, oh my goodness, it more than doubles the outcomes for skin rejuvenation. So we started on a journey like, why does this work together? And I'm sure that we'll do that today.
Well, you reached out to me, and at the time you had several skincare products. You hadn't even gotten into red light at the time. And I brought a few of those I brought them all that I have today. So you also came out with the green rooibos probiotic moisturizer, and also a mask, a brightening mask made out of the green rooibos as well. And then since you did the red light, you've also come out with the green rooibos biofirm facial oil. So for our viewers who really love a facial oil, this is a great product. And it's not super oily. You can see it's kind of liquidy in here, and it's in a pump. So you can just dispense as small or as much as you want. And then something I love to use before I'm going to use the red light is do you pronounce it? The green rooibos AOX hydrating atomizer. So this is really refreshing to spray. It's just a little more green rooibos on the face before you put on the serum.
The way I like to think of it is using the atomizer. It's a very, very fine spray.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit like putting the sheet on, and then you can put the serum on top. And we have 2 serums because we've just launched the Serum Light as well.
Yes.
Right. So this is like putting the duvet on top. It just gives you that extra concentration. It's a different texture.
And it's that idea of putting the thinnest product
thinnest to
on
thickest.
first and going thicker
Yes. But
after.
it's also, they have slightly different functions. So this is loaded with oat beta glucan, which is extremely hydrating. So what we want to do is to ensure that the skin is really hydrated, because hydrated skin absorbs light better. So the
Right.
oat beta glucan in this, the glycerin, it's a really good base.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you put the serum on, you've got a high concentration of our active ingredient, the rooibos. You've also got niacinamide, which is a lovely ingredient, for
Mm-hmm.
mature skins anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the two, work well together, but you
Right.
could use the atomizer. If you have a body panel, you could effectively just use the atomizer as a body spray too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So then we have the original serum and the light. So tell us the difference between each. Why would somebody choose the light?
Yes. Well, we really listen to our community, and it's our community that drives new product development. And we heard from a small number of our community who can't use aloe vera.
Mm.
And our original serum, our pressed serum, is formulated in a base of pure aloe vera gel, not just reconstituted aloe, which is what you find with most aloe. It is pure aloe vera gel. So as it's the base, as you can appreciate, it's quite concentrated. If they can't tolerate that, clearly they can't use that product. We
Mhm.
also heard from a lot of more mature ladies who really are more skincare fanatics, and they like to layer a number of anti-aging serums. Now, if you layer quite a few serums, like gel serums, water-based serums, possibly even oil serums, you may even have found this yourself, Glory, that potentially you can get to that point where they start to pill. Have you
Mhm.
ever found that, where they start to just gradually rub off the skin, which
In the
is not,
morning. Yeah, if I use them in the morning and then I get to the makeup a little later, I'm like, oh.
depending on the combination of serum. So
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
water-based serum is better for layering. So,
Yes.
we had some people say, I absolutely love using your serum and I use it with LED therapy. But what I'm finding is I'm putting it on before LED and then I'm potentially washing it off, to then layer all my other serums.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not ideal. So to kind of cater for those two camps, people that cannot tolerate aloe and people perhaps with more mature skins that want to layer lots of serums, we've created the Serum Light, which is a water-based serum. So it's super lightweight, super sheer. It's lighter in color. It's a
Mhm.
slightly lower concentration than
Mhm.
the original serum. As you can see, it's quite pale,
Mhm.
but really sheer and goes into the skin.
Mhm. Mhm.
As I don't think I can reach my breast, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's will mature. Obviously, these serums, it's a little bit like
Iodine.
tea. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So if you just rub that into your hand, they'll get the
Right.
impression it doesn't stay dark, but
No.
obviously it can give a little bit of warmth to your skin. So if you're
Yeah.
really fair-skinned as well, you might also prefer
Mhm.
Serum Light. So
Right.
it's just making sure that we have options there, but both are loaded with our,
Mhm.
hero API ingredients. Both, are formulated for LED. The press serum has got that original data behind it, which allows us to make the claim, improves outcomes for LED. Now, clearly, it's not realistic, every product we release, to put it through claims testing. That's just not
Mhm.
financially viable.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
what we're doing is understanding the science behind the rooibos and how it works with LED. So
Yeah.
once you understand that and you understand Maysama's proposition about pulse light and how that works, it's that you're buying into effectively.
Right. That's so interesting. So then getting into the red light therapy, which you call LED, that's the same thing.
Call it LED only because, it can also include blue.
Oh, right. It can be blue. You now have a panel of face masks, the chin to chest, which I love. You have one for the hair. I don't
Yes.
own it, but it's like a brush that you hold. And even the gua sha has red light. Not as
No, down here
intense
it's
as the
red.
actual
Yeah.
panels. There you go. Yeah, that's the one for the hair. And one thing I noticed when you first reached out to me is that red light is getting, once I research red light, it's getting used more and more frequently by athletes for all kinds of muscle
Muscle
repair,
recovery.
yeah,
Yeah.
recovery and repair
Yes.
for their muscles. And the panels they use, of course, are bigger, but they're very similar to your panel. Now, I do have friends who go to doctors or to other facilities to use a red light panel, and they're paying $29 per time. And
Wow.
I had a friend who came over to my house. I'm going to reach over to my red light panel here. And this is my Maysama red light panel. And she saw this on my dining room table, and she had already priced what they would cost for her to just buy one and have it at home instead of going to the chiropractor all the time. And I
And just to
told her how much,
for
yeah,
your
I told her
viewers.
how much this one was. And I said, and you can get my discount. And she said, oh my gosh, because the one she was looking at cost four figures in dollars,
Yeah,
1,000, $2,000. And the thing is, she can use it on her face, but she can turn around and use it on her back.
she can.
You
She
can.
can,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
what I want you to talk about, because, well, first of all, one thing, reading about this, oh, I just turned on the timer. I just touched the button. Oh, see,
That's always a good illustration.
see me turn red. Yeah. Um, there's red light and there's near infrared light, sometimes also called just infrared light. So, what's the difference between red light and the infrared or near infrared?
Okay. Okay. Well, let's take the whole electromagnetic spectrum. So we're looking at visible light and then we're looking at infrared. So, visible light from red right through to blue, there are wavelengths within that that are beneficial for skin health, but typically we're using the red, which would penetrate the epidermis. Blue can be used for treating, because it's a shorter wavelength, actually it's even better for treating the surface of the skin, which is why we use it for acne, and it's antibacterial. As you go further down, then you get into the infrared. But infrared is split into near infrared, which is closest to red, and then it's infrared, and then it's far infrared.
Oh,
It's
so it is
only,
different things. Okay.
so it's different.
Yeah.
Only the near infrared has an influence on mitochondrial function. It's only the near infrared and the red and some of those visible wavelengths that have a biostimulatory effect on your cells.
I see.
Once you get into far infrared, infrared and far infrared, it has a heating effect on the skin, but it has no biostimulatory effect on your cells.
Okay. So there's no reason to use it, right?
No,
For the purpose that we're using it for here.
not for biostimulation. You might
Yeah.
use it to warm your muscles, but it wouldn't help the skin rejuvenation. And again, I say everything really is led by our communities. So it was our community saying to us, what red light equipment do you recommend? And do you have your own? And at the time, we were referring to other brands and saying, well, you could use this one or you could use this one. And I was also, working with brand partners like yourself and saying to them, and here's this, and you can use this with it. And I was having to reach out to other companies to go, can you just please provide a red light to this lady? I'm like, this is crazy. I need my own equipment.
So let's talk about what the red light panels, the red light masks, what they do for our skin.
Yes, I think that's really important to touch on that. So red light and near infrared light is a biostimulator. What it does is it triggers the mitochondria in our cells. So if you think of the mitochondria as the batteries of our cells, they produce the cellular energy. You may have heard of the ATP molecule, and that's our energy currency. So when we introduce red light, near infrared light, it stimulates our cells to produce more ATP, which provides the cellular energy that we need to drive all biological processes from cell repair to cell turnover. So what we find when we use this for skin rejuvenation, because we're helping the cells to turn over more quickly, we get brighter skin. We get more lifted skin because we're producing more collagen. We're helping with protein synthesis. So we're driving collagen production. So we see changes in skin tone and texture, which is pro-aging.
Is there anything else you can tell us in particular about your panel? I showed the panel already. It also has different settings. It's got different amounts of time. It has pulse light versus not pulse light. So does the mask. Should I show the mask right now?
That would be fab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all of these things, they come in lovely bags, so it keeps them clean. So this is the face mask, and let's see, somewhere in here. The nice thing that Maysama did, they have separate, I guess what would you call this?
A controller.
The controller. So you pull the controller off, this is what gets charged. And everything is in here from number of minutes to intensity to pulse light, not pulse light, or I guess you would call that static. And then it connects to the mask here on the end. And then this is the mask. This is the side that touches your face. So these are the lights. And then it has Velcroed pieces that hold up. I also like it has this opening for the nose, so you don't have to feel like your nose is, first of all, the nose does get some red light, which is nice, but it's not blocked, so you can breathe easily. And how many minutes would somebody wear the mask?
The recommended treatment time is 6 minutes with a mask if
Okay.
you use pulse light. And maybe we should just touch on why we use pulse light, because it does give this better biological response. So we mentioned about the mitochondria, and what we want the mitochondria to do is to produce this cellular energy. When you use pulse light, you get what we call higher peak power. So let's say, for example, these are just hypothetical numbers. Let's say that you're using an LED device, doesn't matter whether it's a panel, and it has an irradiance, a light intensity of 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared. And then at the end of your treatment, you've got 10 joules of energy delivered. If you take that device and you switch it to pulse light, rather than just tracking along at 100, what happens is it starts at 0, and then bear in mind, it's got to deliver that 10 joules of energy by the end of the treatment. So the same amount of energy, it doubles the peak power. So rather than 100, you've got 200, back down to 0 because the pulse is off, on again, 200. So it goes from 0 to hero, 0 to hero. So at the end, you've got the same energy, but that higher peak power that it produces gives better stimulation of those mitochondria and helps them produce more ATP. And it also drives cell proliferation better. So there are multiple studies out there that show that pulse light outperforms static or continuous wave every time.
I know in the user manual that comes with the panel, and probably in the one that comes with the mask, you have a suggestion in there for how to get used to the pulse light. And you start initially only using static for the whole 6 minutes. You go to 1 minute of pulse and 5 minutes, you're easing into it, and then 3 minutes of pulse and 3 minutes of static, and then getting to the point where you're used to it. And the all-important goggles come with it. And when you cover your eyes with these without any, just having the light in the room, it really is dark. You do see some light through when my eyes are closed and I have these on with the pulse light, I still see something, but I'm more protected. And I would describe the vision when your eyes are closed and you have the goggles on and you have the pulse light. It's like watching a kaleidoscope.
That's how I see it. That's interesting. That's what I say.
Black and white. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
It's nice.
So there absolutely are, as you say, top tips for adjusting. And one thing we do say to people to adjust to the pulse is to sit in a well-lit room and then use your panel rather than a dark room, because then the differential between the panel and the background, environment is less. So it makes it easier to adjust then to the strobing light effectively. But start with a regular, if you're new to red light, you probably wouldn't start with the panel. I personally think that the LED mask is more beginner friendly. And there is a difference in the pulse with the mask and the panel. What we've done with the mask is we use a higher frequency of pulse, which is 100 hertz. at 100 hertz, it flashes more quickly, so quickly that actually it's invisible to the naked eye, but you're still getting the benefit of pulse.
Oh, yes, I did know that. I was like, is this pulsing? It doesn't look like it's
You
pulsing
won't
like
know
the
it's
panel.
pulsing. Yeah.
But it really
Sometimes,
is. Yeah.
sometimes you can see it on camera, depending on the quality
Oh.
of the camera, you
Oh.
may or may not see it pulsing. So right now, let me just hold that up, and I don't
Yeah.
know, that is pulsing right now, but whether
Oh.
I pick that up on the camera or not, I don't know.
Right.
But for that reason, it makes it more beginner friendly.
Hmm.
Um, you when you're using the pulse light with the mask, we have eye protectors as well, as you'll see on the back of there.
Yeah.
Um, but the light is not directed into the retina. So it's
Mm.
safe to wear that without goggles. You have eye protectors. When you're sat in front of the panel, we have to make the pulse visible. We have to use the lower frequencies for the very reason that if the light was pulsing, and you didn't realize, you may sit in front of your panel without your goggles on. And we do not advise that because pulsed LED is more than just LED. It's two things. We're looking at an LED treatment, but pulse directed into the retina sends messages to the brain. Now, it's used, in a positive way to treat Alzheimer's, to treat Parkinson's. There's some great research out there in terms of using pulse light to, affect neurological conditions, but that's not our scope. We know nothing about that, and we do not want to be messing in that area. So
Hmm.
for that reason, for safety, you must wear goggles when using your panel because you're directing light straight into the retina and it's a higher intensity.
Yeah. Even through a closed eyelid. Yeah. It goes
Yeah,
right up.
but your eyelids are nothing. That we're talking about red and near-infrared light that penetrates skin. How thin is the skin on your eyelids?
So thin.
Just, yeah, you need goggles,
Hmm.
blackout goggles.
Yeah. Now, how many inches from the panel should our face be?
For an optimal treatment, because we're talking about superficial tissue, skin effectively, we're not talking about deep tissue treatment like we were talking earlier about muscle recovery. Um, you actually want to go low and slow. So there is really an optimal window of energy that you're looking to deliver, which is between 2 and 10 joules for skin. So on that basis, you would be sitting 9 to 12 inches away from your panel to be within that window.
Oh, that's pretty far. I
It's
don't
pretty
think I've
far.
been that far. I
You
should
need to step
adjust.
further
I'm
back,
like
Glory.
probably 4 to 6. Okay, I need to
Oh,
back it up a little bit.
yeah, back up.
9 to 12. And I
9
do
to
six
12.
minutes. Uh,
6 minutes is ideal. Yeah.
Now, another question I have about either of these. First of all, I've heard you say you don't use both the panel and the mask. You really use one or the other, but you can do them on different nights, but you wouldn't use them both on the same day, right?
No, I mean, a red light treatment is a red light treatment. And in all fairness, I think a lot of people think that panels will give you more light energy, but it's not about more light energy. Less is more. When we're
Mhm.
talking about superficial treatment, then we want a low dose of energy. So when you're using the LED panel to treat your skin, you should be sitting at that distance that we recommend to lower the dose. With panels, you also get reflection losses because you're further away from that light. Whereas when you're using a mask, it's what
Mhm.
we call contact LED. It's directly on the skin. So you get very little reflection losses. So whilst the mask starts at 45 milliwatts per centimeter squared, well, I say start, that's the max irradiance within our LED mask. It's actually not that dissimilar when you're using the panel if you're sitting at the right distance because of those reflection losses.
Mhm. Now, I did see in another video interview where you had the panel, I'm going to bring it over again, and you were showing that instead of putting your face right in front of it, you could turn your face one way, maybe wait, a minute or so, and then turn it the other way to get the sides. Do you still do that?
Sure. Um, do I? I don't know whether I do it anymore.
When you use
I
your
mix
own
it
pan?
up. I mix it up. You know, it's
Oh,
not,
okay.
I think it was just, something that somebody raised as a question, would I get better treatment with a mask because it is, wrapping around my face? And I'm thinking, well, if that is a concern to you, you could do this, a little bit on one
Yeah.
side, a little bit on another.
Mhm.
Is it something that I do? I probably don't.
Yeah. I did hear you say too that you normally prefer the panel because having
I
rosacea, you
still
don't
do.
really like something touching your face, but the
Yeah.
panel or the mask is really nice to put in your suitcase and take with you.
100%. The mask is definitely more travel friendly in that regard.
Mhm.
The panel is really lightweight, and I designed it in such a way that it will look stylish on your vanity unit,
Mhm.
on your desk. And it's certainly lightweight and portable, but I wouldn't encourage you to stick it in a suitcase and take it
Yeah.
traveling because it
Yeah.
has got a glass front. So, please be aware of that.
Mm.
But the LED mask, it's so lightweight and robust in that sense that you could just literally throw it into a suitcase and
Mhm.
it travels with you.
Yeah. Now, even though the panel is lightweight, the base I found is really a good weight, heavy, heavy enough
Yes,
that it's not going to tip over. It's got a nice tightener
it's
so that you
robust. Yeah.
can change the angle of it. And
Yes.
that there's nothing cheap about it. So I've had some
No,
people
not at all.
say, well, I'm going to save money and buy a red light panel from what is it, one Timu or Shan, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. This is my skin. It's electric. I don't know that I want to buy
The
something.
EMF, yeah.
EMF. Yeah. I mean, I know that you've gone through the ropes
Yeah.
getting this done properly, even if it doesn't matter where you get it manufactured. I know it's to your specifications.
Yes.
And you've probably worked with a team that has that expertise, even in a field that you don't come from, to make sure that it does meet
Absolutely.
certain
Yeah, the quality control
specifications.
standards are very high.
Right. It's going to be the quality that you would find at a doctor's office or how
Yeah,
other
and
health.
we're talking about skin health here. We want
Yeah.
to improve your skin health, not take it
Right.
backwards because you've got a high EMF value.
Mhm.
There are important considerations. Yeah.
Right. Now, the other one that you recently came up with, which I was so excited about, you call it chin to chest. So I love that you put the chin part. So this wraps around your neck, and then I'm not going to show it, but you stick this in your shirt. I usually do it
Yeah.
at night if I'm going to do it because my
Yeah.
panel doesn't really get my chest. It gets my neck a bit, but it has the same little lights as the face mask and the same controller style. And yeah, I just love it. So how many should we do 6 minutes with the chin to chest as well?
6 minutes again is our recommended time, providing you're using pulse light, because don't forget that pulse light will give you better biostimulation. It also gives you deeper penetration. So that's important too. Use the
Mhm.
mist before if you're doing your
Yeah,
chin to chest. So yes, 6 minutes, a recommended treatment time.
right. Now, another thing that you said, I think this is really important because if people are using it at night after they wash their face and everything's clean, and if they wear any products, any skincare products at night that have oils in them, you need to put on the oil-based products after you do your red light therapy.
It's what we recommend at the moment. I mean, I think we want to work with what we know works, and we know that humectants will hydrate the skin and be beneficial for LED therapy. If you start introducing oils, it gets more complex. You would need to know the refractive index of the oil. You would need to know whether it's the same as skin, whether it's going to help or hinder. And that's way too complex. So the easiest thing to say is work with water-based serums, mists, etc. before, and save your any products with emollients for after your LED to then lock in that hydration.
Right. And even some vitamin C serums come with oil in them. Some regular hyaluronic acid serums comes mixed with an oil. A lot of them aren't. Mine
I
are all
think the
water-based.
important thing is to look at the first two
Mhm.
ingredients on the serum. A lot of people get confused with something being water-based
Mm.
gel-based or oil-based, simply look at the first two ingredients. If you've got oil in the formulation, but it's far down the list, that doesn't matter. It's not oil-based. If it starts with water, glycerin, aloe vera, and the second ingredient is water, you're good. If it
Hmm.
starts with squalane, then
Yeah,
clearly it's an oil-based serum, so you
right.
wouldn't put that on
I put on moisturizer, my nighttime moisturizer, after using the red light,
afterwards.
just for that reason, because they might
Yes.
be so much more emollient, and I don't want to mess that up.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yes. Same
yeah,
as
but for sure, I put on one of these. This one fell over. Okay, one of these for sure before I do the red light, one of the serums. So,
perfect.
yeah, so that's been really great.
Well, people can't visualize these things if we don't show them the red light.
Okay.
So just it's best if you do it, but I just think they really just
Okay.
need to just see it
Okay.
on. But they
I'm
don't
gonna,
see the back. They kind of like, oh, turn it round, Glory, turn it round. I want to see the back. Is yours lit or not?
yeah, it is. It's not showing. I can see it in a mirror. It's all red, but my camera isn't picking it up. Your camera is.
Yeah. What does it say on your controller?
Red and P is off and time is
So
9.
when you press the second button again, what do you get?
Red plus NIR, the near infrared.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my cameras and my lights.
Are you sure that is that really showing for you? Because I can't see that yours
Yeah,
is.
because I have a mirror over here and the red light
Okay.
is totally, oh yeah. Let
Oh
me
yeah,
see.
yeah, I've got it. I've got it now. Yeah, so we
See
might
it
have to
on
show
me?
mine.
Yeah. So it's on. It's
Oh yeah,
just,
yeah,
it's the
yeah. That's so
camera and the
weird. Well,
lighting.
maybe just hold it against your face like that because that works. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Oh, now you
That
can,
looks really
oh,
good.
it turned off. Hang on.
So maybe there's just
I
something you can
gotta increase the
bring that
time.
in. It looks amazing to.
Okay. Yeah. And then pressing the button to change the mode so that I get the pulsed.
Yes.
It's the middle button. The mode. Is that what I'm
So the
pressing?
top button will do the pulse. So you
Oh, the
press the
top
top
button,
button
the
for
on
on,
off.
and that gives you the default setting is red on and pulse off. So you press the top button again to
Yeah.
activate the pulse at 100
Oh,
hertz.
okay.
Then press the middle button, which is the M for mode, and you can switch it up to red plus near infrared.
Right. Okay, good.
And then
Yeah, so
the
when I press
bottom
the
one is
on
for your
off
timer.
button, yeah, the on off button, power button, real
Yeah.
quick, it toggles between off, which means static.
Yes, office
Off is
static. Yeah,
static. And I press
exactly.
it one more time and it says 100 HZ.
That's it.
So
Hertz.
that
Yeah.
means the pulsed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
got it. And then the bottom button is time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mhm.
it starts at like what, a minute? And
Starts at 1 minute. Yeah.
yeah, and then you just keep pressing the T for time and you can see the time
Press it twice and
increasing.
you'll flex
There's a
6. Yeah.
little um viewfinder here that
Yeah.
tells
Yeah.
you all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now you can kind of see that they're on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that's really good.
It's the bright lights in the studio. Yeah, this is wonderful. And most of them, other companies out there don't have this little chin piece that would go, it would fit under the chin.
Yes,
So, well,
exactly
this
that.
way, it would be
It
there.
was just something,
Yeah.
a traditional setup, I should say, would end here on the neck and then cover the décolletage.
Mhm.
And with our Prana LED mask, what I noticed was that this area under the chin was effectively still in shadow.
Yeah.
So that's why we created the submental flap. So that's why we call it chin to chest. And
Hmm.
then if you bought the two together as a combo, which actually as a bundle then saves a further 10% discount, we call it the head to heart.
Oh, nice. Nice. When you buy them. Yeah, you have a lot of nice bundles on your website, even buying red light plus bundles with serums
Yes.
and other products that are super. I'll probably say this in the intro, but I do have a discount code for my viewers that's 10% off. And everything is linked in the description box and in the first comment with the discount code. And so from the time I start using red light with the green rooibos serum, about how many months can I expect to start to see some improvement to my skin?
Well, you may not have to wait months to see an improvement. Now, we initially said monitor your results, and after 3 months, then really take a good look and you shall see a difference. The reason we said that was because the extended product trials that we did were over a 3-month period. So it was only really fair to say to people, these results are based on 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But will you see changes in your skin before that? Highly likely. 4 to 6 weeks is not untypical. You're going to be reducing oxidative stress in your skin. And as you continue your journey with LED therapy, there are potentially diminishing returns because there's less work for the red light to do.
Oh,
So
right.
you will
Because your
see
skin
more
has
impact.
improved.
Yeah, your skin has improved.
Mm-hmm.
And it will improve more in those early weeks.
Right.
And then not so much. I mean, I personally prefer to keep it going because I need the maintenance. I have rosacea. It helps with reducing erythema. It helps with reducing redness. So I want to use it 3 to 5 times a week continuously.
Mm-hmm.
Some people prefer to take a break from their LED therapy after a few months because they feel they've plateaued. Well, you could certainly do that. Oxidative stress would build up in your skin again. And then when you use it again, you get better gratification because you'd see the results again. But that's a personal choice.
Right, right. Now, I don't use alpha hydroxys, but I do use a beta hydroxy acid 3 nights a week, or BHA. And normally, without red light or whatever, after doing my cleansing, I put the BHA on first and then I do other products. Can I put the BHA on before red light?
Glory, you may be able to. You clearly have amazing skin. Other people may have more sensitive skin, and something like an AHA or BHA, anything that is going to increase cell turnover can potentially increase skin sensitivity. So we would normally recommend that anything that is resurfacing would be used in a separate routine.
Okay, and that would be also true with tretinoins, retinol,
hang on.
retinol, all of those, which should be put on
all of those, yeah,
after red light therapy. That is really good to know.
Separate routine.
We get in a routine with our products and we line them up and we put them on and we're like, I'm going to do red light. So we need to separate those and
separate them. Ideally, if you have time, try and do your red light therapy in the morning and then use those products in the evening. Yeah. But I appreciate not everybody has time.
Okay, so let's talk about, for some people, we're talking about products to use before or after red light. What about some people with different skin tones? You and I have very fair skin. What about people with darker skin? Or I have freckles. I have age spots now. So tell me about different skin tones and all my old lady things.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's a really, really valid point. And, up until recently, the data that has been published has been very much around using red light for brightening, or a combination of red and near-infrared light for brightening, and potentially giving better results than using red light alone. But what we were seeing was that wasn't working for everybody. And what wasn't clear was why, and, it wasn't working for what was their phenotype, what was their skin tone. So I have very, very recently done a deep dive on this, and some new information has come to the surface, which I'm starting to share as, best protocols based on skin tone. So if you have fair skin, then if you have pigmentation, you are fine to use red light, and that would target that pigmentation. If you're of a darker skin tone, so let's say Fitzpatrick 4 to 6, you have such a high concentration of eumelanin in the surface of the skin that actually, if you were to use red light, you can potentially get too much light energy that's absorbed by that melanin, which would overstimulate those melanocytes and could trigger melasma or further hyperpigmentation. So if you're of a darker skin tone, what the science papers are saying is that you would actually work from the inside out. You would work with near infrared and target your treatment. You bypass the melanin-rich epidermis and you treat the melasma from within, or the hyperpigmentation from within, with near infrared light, which significantly reduces the inflammation it's anti-inflammatory and can treat melasma that way. So it's really horses for courses. There are differences in protocols emerging for light skin tones and darker skin tones.
Okay, so the darker skin tones can do the entire red light session in the near infrared light.
Potentially, if they are suffering with melasma, we would absolutely say you would be better to work with near infrared only. It may be that they're fine. Sometimes, we have people who are borderline. There are 3, they might cross over to a 4. You cannot be specific. For those that are borderline, I think very much it is trial and error. Work with red and near infrared if that's not working for you, which is the best protocol for anti-aging. But if that is triggering melasma, then you might want to just see whether switching to red or near infrared is making a difference to you, which one is going to work for you. If you're fair-skinned, if you're Fitzpatrick 1 to 3, more likely red would be better for you if you're trying to treat melasma and hyperpigmentation. And if you're at the other end of the scale, then the near infrared is going to be better for you. If you're in the middle, it's a little tricky.
That's where you can mix it up.
I think it's more a case of trial and error. Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be worth adding that our Pulse 40 panel allows you to select red and, red or near infrared. So you could work with either protocol. Sorry, within our prana mask, we have the ability to select red only, not near infrared only.
And is that true with the chin to chest that I was just playing with? I got near infrared, or was it red plus?
Only with red plus near infrared.
Okay, it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean this bit kind of off record. If you want, don't put this bit out there. But as I said, our new product development really comes from the community, and it was the community saying to us, "We're not sure that we can use red light therapy." And the feedback really from the community was, we feel the near infrared light might be triggering melasma for us, which is why we gave the ability to use red only when we developed the prana mask. It's only from this very recent research in the last month where I've gone, my goodness, actually, if you're darker skinned, you want near infrared. We happen to have both options in the panel. It was just part of the specification that was developed, but there wasn't necessarily kind of like logic applied at the time. It was just like, oh, you have this or this, so at the moment we're having to direct darker skin tones who are suffering with melasma to the panel. We don't have an option for near infrared only within the mask.
I see. But for someone fair skin like me who has some age spots appearing, I can use either the prana mask or the panel.
Absolutely, you can.
Pretty successfully.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Now, a lot of us have other devices. We have microcurrent devices, for example, that do all kinds of things. Can I use red light therapy and the microcurrent?
You absolutely can. You absolutely can. I think they are 2 fantastic modalities that pair really well together. Microcurrent produces ATP. LED therapy produces ATP. There's no reason why they're not synergistic. You can put them together. Certainly additive. You're just going to get more ATP. Whether they actually, whether it's 2 + 2 gives you 5, we don't know. But they certainly pair well. In fact, it's one thing. Do you have the urchin to hand? So it's one thing that we actually considered when we developed the urchin, which is our little sonic cleansing device.
Right.
But also it does microcurrent
and
red light. So the 2 are paired within our urchin.
Right. Oh, interesting. So you personally had a really great result with your own skin based on the serums plus red light therapy. So are there any other benefits you've seen besides the incredible improvement you had with your rosacea?
I mean, certainly from an anti-aging perspective, I would say that the LED therapy, the red light therapy is helping to stave off those deep-seated wrinkles. Right. Clearly, I'm feeling the effects of aging. I'm 58, but I wouldn't be without it. I wouldn't be without it. I think when you know how it works and why it works, it's something that everybody should have in their anti-aging armory.
Even though most of us don't have rosacea, but it's a great slowing down the aging process and perhaps even reversing signs of aging in those of us who are older. I think I said offline before I started the recording that I'm about to turn 65. I'm this close. So,
Incredible.
yeah, so we're getting there. And then people accuse me of having plastic surgery. I haven't had any, or doing lots of other treatments. And I've only done Botox once and fillers once in here, but it was so long ago, it wears off in a few months. I mean, it's worn off. Okay, everybody, I was rudely interrupted by the guy with the leaf blower outside the window. So my menopause brain doesn't remember what I said. Oh, I said, okay, so I had Botox once and filler once. It wore off more than a year ago. So this is me. And then people start saying, oh, well, you must have a filter. I don't even know what a filter is. And if I had a filter, I wouldn't know how to use it. No, this is just my camera and studio bright lights, and that's it. So this is really me. And I do a lot of videos with the camera up close to me where I'm putting on makeup or whatever. So people can see my skin even before makeup. Some of my thumbnails, if I'm doing a before and after, I've got my before face with no makeup on, and it looks like a mugshot. But you can see I don't have tons of lines. In fact, I started getting a vertical line between my brows, one line, when I was about 39 or 40, and I was like, oh my God. But I started doing better skincare when I was about 36. That's when I first started using full spectrum sunscreen and just, using better things. And as I started the YouTube channel or tweaked it, then I've met people like you who have incredibly even better products that have been tested on skin is like yours, and people have had great results. Or one device, some devices that just the science behind it is really good. And I think it's really staving off aging and just that older lady look. When I look at pictures of my relatives when they were my age, yikes. They did look like old ladies. Now, some of my viewers might be wondering, ooh, the panel looks great, but the mask looks great, the Prana mask. Which one, if I'm only going to buy one right now, which one should I buy? What are some things that you might help to steer that customer toward one or the other?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And actually, we get asked that a lot, with people contacting Maysama. And what I generally say to them, because I think a lot of people think that panels are this higher light intensity and therefore better. But as we're generally talking about skin rejuvenation, it really isn't about the power. It isn't. If you're looking at the mask or the panel, potentially they're going to end up being the same for skin rejuvenation. So it really comes down to lifestyle choices. If you are somebody that says, well, actually, I'm going to use my panel for more than skin rejuvenation. I do want to use it for muscle recovery. Actually, my husband's got a bad shoulder or I've got a bad back. Potentially, that's going to be more versatile for you. So then you would probably steer towards the panel. If you're somebody like me that has rosacea, it's worth considering. Do you mind something touching your skin? Contact LED is great for, light penetration, but is that going to bother you? Maybe you'd be better suited to a panel. If you're dark skin toned and you're looking to treat melasma, you would be better steered towards the panel because you can select that near infrared light only. So when would you choose the mask? It's funny because I have a YouTube friend who I'd sent the panel to and then I'd sent the mask to, and she never used the panel because she is such a busy mum. She says, I haven't got time to use a panel. I wear the mask when I'm cooking dinner for the kids, when I'm doing that. So if you're a busy person and you're never going to sit down in front of a panel, there's no point in having a panel, have a mask. Also consider that the mask is more beginner friendly. As we said, you're not going to see the strobing of the pulse light. That, for some people that have never used LED before, is going to be more comfortable and easier to use. The LED mask is also portable. If you're somebody who travels a lot, you can throw it in your suitcase. Right. So I think there's a number of considerations, but it's not about light intensity. It's about lifestyle. So I hope that gives you some pointers on which might be best for you. And it doesn't have to be Maysama. We're talking about masks and panels in general, but hopefully what we've shown you today is of interest.
Right, right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Bev May, for coming on today. It was really enlightening. I learned some things as well. Hopefully our viewers enjoyed it too. Thank you so much. And I hope to have you back sometime.
I'd love to come back. Thank you so much for having me, Glory. Thank you.
2024's Black Friday sale goes from November 1st to December 3rd, where everything is 20% off. Check the description box or the first comment for links to products and for my discount code for additional savings. The LED red light devices make great gifts for the holidays, as well as the serums and other skincare products. After December 3rd, my discount code always works for 10% off.